So today's a fascinating day. Very interesting because I call this is All Souls Day. I call Leah Michelle Kossett the Queen of All Souls, not so much the one that lives in the Twin Cities, you know, the because she doesn't recognize her divinity, okay? Her calling and her righteousness and her miracle working paranormal powers, but the Holy Ghost of Leah that preceded her many, many centuries in advance, okay? The female half of God, because God created woman in his image too, okay? And so I was walking by this building I see all the time, and it's right next to the building, the Capitol building, modeled after St. Peter's Basilica, and I call Leah the Queen of Capitol Hill Queen, okay? Before I knew there was a Capitol Hill in Minnesota, I called her Capitol Hill Queen. I was thinking Washington, D.C., and then I moved next to this Capitol Hill place that people are calling Capitol Hill, and it's modeled after St. Peter's Basilica, and I believe she had a female Vatican, and the St. Peter's Basilica is in the Vatican that was created by Benito Mussolini, okay? Well, next to that happens to be the symbol for fascism, where Benito Mussolini took the name fascism. The symbol for fascism is the fasces. There's multiple of these carved fasces on this building that I notice on All Souls Day, the day that I'm so devoted to Leah. How is it possible? I'm discovering this for the first time, and I've walked by this building so many times, and I am discovering on the day that I'm so devoted to this lady, because the thing is, Jack the Pumpkin King in Halloween, he's the king of Halloween. This is Halloween. This is Halloween. Halloween, 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 Halloween. I'm Jack the Pumpkin King, and I just can't wait till next Halloween, because I've got some ideas that will really make them scream. The Nightmare Before Christmas. So Jack means Jacob, the husband of Leah, okay? And so that's really interesting, because the symbol on there is many rods bound together to form one unbreakable axe, okay? It's easy to break maybe one rod. You bind them all together with something they call a thong. Isn't that interesting? A thong binding them together? Well, that's the symbol for fascism, and it's all over, multiple of them on the walls of this government building I just discovered today. Not by coincidence at all, okay? And Jacob was the son of Rebekah, and he did everything he could to please Rebekah and had no loyalty to God, and Rebekah tells him to go break multiple of the 10 commandments to steal his blessing, and that was what made him great, was obeying a woman telling him to disobey God, and then he fights with God and stuff. But Rebekah, the name Rebekah actually means to bind together as into one, as in matrimony, or bound, or to bind. But many rods bound together into one unbreakable axe. That is the symbol, that is like the name of Rebekah, the symbol for fascism, symbol for the mother of the man who was the husband of Leah, okay? So, and that's what I think of this Leah, the state entity, because Mussolini said the fascist state is a female entity that will keep resurrecting after you have crucified her. And this is a form of her that is not going to be violent. She wants everyone to be happy and all that kind of stuff. She's reformed. Benito hung upside down like a caterpillar hangs upside down to be transformed into a new creation. This is Leah the butterfly, not Leah the caterpillar, okay? And Benito Mussolini has been transformed, hung upside down to be Benito the butterfly, the Blessed Virgin Mussolini. He hung upside down April 29th, which is the birthday of Hirohito, who was obsessed with butterflies, and they said he neglected his statesmanship to be an eccentric butterfly collector and go to the museums to stand before these walls that are covered in butterflies and gaze at them like they were his idols and stuff. And people thought, this guy's kind of freaking weird. He would like complain about the pollution in Tokyo and how it's causing his gardens to have less butterflies. And Mussolini hangs upside down. I was calling him Benito the butterfly before I knew Hirohito had an obsession with butterflies, okay? So Benito the butterfly, the new creation, he is the Blessed Virgin Mussolini, okay? The Blessed Virgin fascist dictator, Benito Mussolini, okay? So, and I found this jacket. I said, I had my my matrimony with this Leah the butterfly bound together to become one entity, and I find this the next day. It's got the Japanese flag, and I put on that letter a big capital H for Hirohito, saying I want to receive the sacrament of confirmation with the sacrament of matrimony. And when Catholics receive the sacrament of confirmation, they receive a new name. I said I want it to be Hirohito, okay? And I put a big capital H for Hirohito. I never do that. I didn't write out the name because there wasn't enough room on the paper. Hours later, I find this, a big capital H and a Japanese flag. The camouflage is the color of the Brotherhood of Nod uniforms in the first Brotherhood of Nod game. And Nod is the land east of Eden. Nod is, I call the land east of heaven the Brotherhood of Nod, where the female god, and God gives her privacy, where she can have an island archipelago and give everybody their own version of heaven. And the only rule is you don't get to hurt anybody, or the all-seeing eye of Leah can read everybody's heart and know what you're going to do before you do it. You can't destroy somebody else's version of heaven. If you're going to go hurt somebody, you better make sure they're giving you permission to be hurt, and it's going to make their heaven good too, okay? It's got to be heaven for everybody, okay? Different islands for different types of heaven, and that's what she wants, is because Nod was the land where Cain went when he murdered Abel, a land where God was providing for the first murderer, okay? So it's a land where you don't have to be perfect like in heaven, but you don't have to go to hell. You can go to the Brotherhood of Nod. And the Brotherhood of Nod, its symbol is the female-dominant Scorpio, which is also the one of the symbols assigned to the Scorpio is the spider, okay? And the spider is the most female-dominant animal in the whole world. And spiders, I call my spider women queens of the World Wide Web, okay? World Wide Web, www equals 666. Spider web, but these are not bad. These are not bad. 666 girls, they're antichrist, mimicking. They're doing the opposite. They're doing good things, but accomplishing some of the same things, but doing good things, appearing bad, but actually being very good and wanting to relieve everybody's suffering, doing necessary evils like Leah did in the Old Testament and like Jacob did, okay? And Nod is the land east of Eden, and James Dean starred in the movie East of Eden based off of that, and it takes place in 1917, the movie East of Eden by James Dean, who was the rebel without a cause. James is an alternative for Jacob, the husband of Leah, and Dean is a name that means a monk who has a lot of people obeying him, okay? A religious figure with a bunch of people obeying him. And so Leah does weird things. Like, I thought maybe Leah was a type of, she reminds me of Mussolini. That was what attracted me to Leah. I saw Benito Mussolini in her. She does strange things. Like, I would like walk into her office and be like, I'm panhandling money to trade my glasses to buy contact lenses, and so I don't have to wear glasses. She doesn't say anything. She just kind of like sticks her chin out, like, I don't know, like, have you ever seen Mussolini do it? She impersonates Mussolini better than I do. Like this guy right here, you know how he used to stick his chin out and like squint and stuff like that? That's the kind of looks that Leah would give sometimes. Like she had the spirit of Benito Mussolini. I told somebody that, and he's like, I think the spirit of Benito Mussolini just entered her, like making you see Mussolini and Leah, okay? And Mussolini has the name Jacob for the husband of Leah, and he has the wife Rachel, who has the one of the names for the other bride of Jacob as well. He had two brides, and so and then Jack Kennedy, John and Jack Kennedy. He's got my last name James. Jane is an alternative for John and Jack. He marries Jackie Lee, and she's got the serpent as her Chinese zodiac. He's got the serpent as his Chinese zodiac. And the tribe of Dan is represented by a serpent and a dragon, and Leah has the dragon as the Chinese zodiac, okay? And the word dragon comes from the word draconem, which means great serpent. And the Japanese dragon, the Shinto dragon of this female-dominant religion, where the boss is a beautiful woman, sun goddess, but she's also a wolf sometimes, symbolized by a wolf. And a wolf is one of the animals assigned to the Scorpio, and the serpent is assigned to the Scorpio. And the serpent tribe of Dan, the dragon tribe, has a Scorpio as its symbol. And Leah saw the police interviewing me when there was a man who's a Jew named Dan. Best friend I ever had as a Jew, who I gave my Israeli flag from and used to buy my drugs from and stuff like that. He's a Jew named Dan. My favorite tribe of Israel's named Dan. That's got so many links to Leah, okay? And so she was watching the police interview me, and she interviewed me, and she saw the police were like talking to me, and this girl had physically assaulted me, and I didn't hit her back. So Leah knows I don't hit women back even when they're committing violence against me. So Leah should know I'm not planning on hurting Leah now. When I was like worshiping the ground she walks on, I was like kissing her feet, you know. I never made it to first or second base. The only kissing, I kissed her feet, you know. And I had to act crazy, so I would go jump off a building because that was important, because by jumping off that building, it caused me to spend the 10 weeks in a wheelchair and then go to Parkland and move into room 17 on the 5th floor the day 17 die and 17 are injured. 17 in Mussolini's empire in Italy, in Roman numerals, means I have lived. And 17 is a number associated with ghosts. And they often don't have a 17th floor in Italian buildings. And Mussolini was a big believer in ghosts. And he did not, and he was superstitious. Like, he would hold seances. Some people say that would cause like furniture to like walk around. And he promised he was going to return to head a greater nation in need of a leader. And the communists are going to feel his arm. He said that. And then his corpse went missing on Easter Sunday, which celebrates the missing corpse of Jesus on Easter Sunday. And his ghost told somebody to go dig up that corpse. Okay. And he spent 12 years in a Franciscan friary in a box and no one knew where he was. And they celebrate St. Francis. He's the reason St. Francis of Assisi became the patron saint of Italy. And the Franciscans were all smiling and beaming with joy, telling his wife, Rachel, oh my God, he made our saint the patron saint of Italy. The last person you would think would be patron saint of Italy, because he was a beggar, lived like a bum, and slept outside. But he used to sing brother, sun, and sister moon. I call Leah the moon goddess. Sister moon, brother, sun is the symbol for Mussolini, because it's the symbol for Jacob in the Old Testament, and Mussolini means Jacob, and they both married Rachel and all that. So, that's all fine. That's and on Leah's birthday, JFK dies at Parkland, and because of her, I move into that building, and I Google this shooting at Parkland, only because if I never moved into room 17, and 17 didn't mean all that stuff, I would not have Googled this Parkland thing. And a Jew whose name means Leah, was called the princess, and there's a memorial to her where her name, word princess is before her name, and I called Leah Princess Leah because Princess Leia was the Jedi Knight, sister of Luke Skywalker, enemy of darkness, enemy of Darth Vader, and she happened to be the daughter of Darth Vader, but also the enemy, you know. And I felt like the devil appeared to me as Darth Vader and said, Matthew, this is why you should jump off a building over Leah, because Princess Leia, you're Luke, I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm your father, okay? Princess Leia is your sister. Why are you coming on to your sister like you're a freaking drunk hillbilly drinking too much moonshine? You make Darth Vader weep, because I get blamed for all the shit that God does. God killed everybody, but the curse of original sin gave women their labor pains so that they didn't live to see the age of 30 on average, because they were dying given childbirth, and does all these evil things in scripture that are like, look all satanic, and commits genocide and all this. And the devil gets blamed for all this stuff that God is doing, all these curses and stuff the devil has nothing to do with it. So I am crying, Luke Skywalker. Darth Vader is crying because, I have to work so hard. I've only got 1/3 of the angels, and I stood up to God because he was a bigger narcissist and more proud than me, demanding everyone worships him. And I just wanted there to be a whole bunch of gods, and so everyone could have their own Messiah and not have to worship a total narcissistic, proud, wrathful man that's so jealous of other gods and committing genocide and all this stuff. He said the serpent never killed all those people. The serpent just said to go eat the fruit of the tree because Adam's balls were showing. He's like, Eve, why don't you take the forbidden fruit to Adam? If he eats it, he will understand the parable of the serpent, the riddle of the serpent, like, psst, hey, Adam, your balls and your scrotum are showing with your uncircumcised penis, okay? Snakelets don't want to see that shit because male snakes hide their genitals, okay? So he realized he was naked, and then he didn't know he was naked until he ate the forbidden fruit. The serpent wasn't trying to get those people to get killed, or everybody. God killed everybody, gave everybody a death penalty for crimes they never commit. If Eve would fucking have everybody die over a fucking apple, what the hell would she do for a Klondike bar? And why are her descendants all getting murdered over an apple? And why would you kill your only daughter? Would you kill your daughter and her because she ate a freaking apple she wasn't supposed to? Because where was the knight in shining armor saying there's this serpent coming up to her? And he knew all this stuff. So basically, he taught me that, Matt, I'm not saying the devil's a good guy, Darth Vader's not a good guy, but at least he stood up to the God who's a much bigger narcissist and more proud. He said, both of these people are really proud narcissists. He said, there's a better path for you. Don't choose either of us. Keep praying to the humble ladies that are really nice. As Eve was naked without shame, and she listened to a serpent, and now, there's some other women that are naked without shame, listen to serpents and do good deeds. The Virgin Mary, her name is called the New Eve, and she's considered not a sinner, so no reason why she can't be naked without shame, all I'm trying to say is the Brotherhood of Nod, the land east of Eden, the land of Nod, Mother God has a kingdom east of heaven in the land of Nod. Mother God, she loves me though I'm a weirdo, misunderstood and odd. So, that's where the land of Mother God, of the land of Nod, of Leah Michelle Kossett, you can have dual citizenship, or you can, but if you want to be part of God's kingdom, you got to be all perfect and stuff, but in the land of Nod, you just got to avoid hurting people, or she makes you go to the camp where there's a gas chamber where you have to huff laughing gas and die of laughter, and then be placed in a crematorium all anesthetized from the laughing gas, possessed by spirits of comedians, and then you have to get melted and remolded like gold is melted in fire, and be like reborn so gentle and compassionate that you wouldn't want to you wouldn't want to cut a flower because you're so scared of hurting the fucking flower, and you cry when you see a beautiful sunset, and you're like a freaking unicorn when a little girl sees you and she just sees a freaking unicorn, that was the thing with Leah. I had Beatlemania because it was like a girl with Beatlemania. Oh my God, is that Paul McCartney? Like those girls with Beatlemania running after Paul McCartney, screaming and shit like that. She's Leah and the Sky with Diamonds. That's Paul McCartney. I'm in St. Paul, and I behaved really bad around St. Paul McCartney. She thinks I want to ravage her. But the thing is, what about these people that are obsessed with their Jesus, and they got the Beatlemania for Jesus Christ, like falling over the holy rollers with the Beatlemania for Jesus? And what about the fact that they don't want to go hurt Jesus, even though they're totally freaking obsessed with him, acting all fucking crazy and shit? or the people like that eat the flesh and drink the blood of Jesus Christ, like they're fucking Jeffrey Dahmer eating. I'm just kidding. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, it has nothing to do with disrespect. It had nothing to do with me ever wanting to hurt her. In fact, when I uploaded that thing about Leah, you're not safe, that I made it clear what I was saying. I would never hurt you, Leah. I have invested so much into you and I love you so much. I was saying you might not be safe because if you were to treat somebody else and hurt them as badly as you have hurt me or something like that, it could hurt you, or it could really hurt them in ways that it's going to be worse than what happened with me. And she works with broken people. But I was being dumb because I got off the phone with someone I thought was her. It was one of her relatives who was not talking to me, and I was like talking to her, Leah, telling her all this stuff, and she turned the volume up and let her phone run so that all this volume of this TV was going, and I was trying to talk to her and she wasn't talking to me back, so I got frustrated and I uploaded that video, but it wasn't even her on the other end of the phone anyway, so it was a big misunderstanding anyways. And even though that was the case, I didn't threaten her. There was no threat there. I made it so clear to her why nobody is really safe, because I'm not safe. Who's safe? You get in your car and you go drive and you can get hit by a drunk driver, be paralyzed from the neck down for the rest of your life and stuff. So nobody, who's really safe? But especially if you're working with vulnerable adults and one of them gets hurt really bad or something, and then like, whatever, you don't really treat them very well, that could cause bad things to happen to both of you, okay? So I was trying to protect her, but I realized that was not a good thing to do. I didn't know it at the time. And I actually mailed Leah money the last time. I mailed her money and a Happy Mother's Day card, bought her Happy Mother's Day flowers. But this isn't really about that, Leah. This is about the Holy Ghost of Leah. Lots of beautiful things happen. And she's got the zodiac for the tribe of Dan. And then there's my favorite Jewish friend that she knew him and named Dan as well. And the tribe of Dan was one of the 12 tribes of Israel, a Jewish tribe with one of her zodiac. Both of her zodiacs actually are symbols for the tribe of Dan. So, all right. Well, hey, that's all, folks.